The morning was quiet in the small village of Kisiwa. The sun was still hiding behind the soft clouds. The ground was wet because of the heavy rain from the night before. Birds sang softly as people started their day. But one girl was already walking. Her name was Amina. She was only 21 years old but carried many problems on her small shoulders. She wore a simple dress, old but clean. Her shoes were thin with holes in the soles, and her feet got wet with every step. In her hand she held a small cloth bag. Inside was a piece of dry bread, a bottle of water, and her mother's old scarf. She always carried it for luck and for comfort. Amina was going to her job in the city. She worked as a cleaner in a big rich house. She had to walk a long distance every morning. She could not afford a car or even a bicycle. Every day she walked for 2 hours to reach her job. She never complained because she had to take care of her younger brother Musa. Their mother had died 2 years ago, and their father had never returned after going to the city many years ago. As Amina walked carefully on the side of the road, she heard the loud sound of a car engine behind her. She turned her head and saw a big black Range Rover speeding towards her. The road was narrow and full of puddles. She tried to move away quickly, but there was not enough space. The car drove straight through a deep puddle. Suddenly, the dirty water splashed all over Amina. It hit her face, her hair, her dress, and her bag. She stood there, frozen, dripping with muddy water. The big car stopped for a moment. The tinted window slowly rolled down. Inside the car sat Madame Yara, a rich woman from the city. She was well known for her beauty, money, and pride. She wore a shiny gold necklace, big diamond earrings, and large sunglasses that covered half her face. Her lips were bright red with expensive lipstick. Madame Yara looked at Amina with a cold smile. She laughed and shook her head. "You should not walk so close to the road, poor girl," she said, in a loud, sharp voice. "Next time, stay out of the way." Her laugh echoed as the car sped away, leaving a cloud of dust behind. Amina stood there in silence. The cold mud dripped from her chin. Her hands trembled, but she did not cry. She had learned a long time ago that tears would not change anything. Instead, she whispered softly, "God sees everything." She picked up her muddy bag and started walking again. Her dress was wet and heavy, but she did not stop. She needed this job. She could not lose it. Her little brother depended on her, but what Madame Yara did not know was that someone else had seen everything. Under the big baobab tree near the road, an old man was sitting quietly. His name was Elder Kwame. He was the younger brother of the village chief and was known by everyone. People respected him for his wisdom, kindness, and sharp eyes. He saw the whole thing: the car, the splash, the laughter, and Amina's pain. Elder Kwame shook his head slowly. His heart felt heavy. "This is wrong," he whispered to himself. "The rich have forgotten how to be kind." He watched Amina walk away, her head held high, even though her body was wet and cold. He admired her strength. Elder Kwame knew Madame Yara very well. She was the daughter of a rich merchant who had taken land from many poor families. She believed she was better than everyone else because of her money and beauty. But Elder Kwame also knew something else. Life has a way of teaching lessons. No one stays powerful forever. The ancestors watch everything and they do not forget. He stood up slowly, leaning on his wooden walking stick. He called his young helper, Kojo, who was waiting nearby. "Kojo, find out who that girl is," he said softly but firmly. "I want to know her name, where she lives, and who her family is. I feel that her story is not finished yet." Kojo nodded and ran off quickly. Elder Kwame stood there for a moment longer, looking at the road where Amina had walked. "The world will turn, child," he whispered, "and one day you will stand in the light." Amina finally reached the city. Her dress was still wet and the mud had dried in dark stains. Her hair clung to her face. She tried to wipe her hands clean before entering the big house where she worked. It was called the Golden House because of its shining golden gate and rich owners. Every time Amina walked through the back gate, her heart felt heavy. She worked here 6 days a week, cleaning floors, washing clothes, and serving food. The pay was small, but it was enough to buy food for her and her brother Musa. As she stepped inside, Madame Yara's assistant, Miss Flora, looked at her with disgust. "What happened to you?" Flora asked with a raised eyebrow. I got splashed by a car on the way here," Amina answered softly. Flora rolled her eyes. "Hurry up and change. Madame Yara has guests coming soon. The house must be perfect." Amina nodded and hurried to the small servant room. She kept an extra uniform there for emergencies. She changed quickly, folding her wet, muddy dress carefully. It was one of the few dresses she owned. When she came out, she began her work. She scrubbed the shiny marble floors until they sparkled. She dusted every corner, polished the large windows, and arranged the flowers in the grand hall. Her back ached, but she did not stop. All the while, Madame Yara sat in the big living room. She was drinking fresh juice and laughing with her friends. They wore expensive clothes and shiny jewelry. Their laughter was loud and sharp like knives. "That poor girl looked like a wet chicken this morning," Madame Yara laughed. Her friends joined her, giggling. Amina heard their laughter from the hallway. She felt a sharp pain in her heart, but she kept working. She thought about Musa waiting at home. She had to stay strong for him. Outside the mansion, Elder Kwame was still watching. He had come to the city quietly, wearing simple clothes so no one would notice him. He stood under a tree near the big house, leaning on his stick. His young helper, Kojo, stood beside him. "That is the girl, Elder," Kojo said. "Her name is Amina. She lives with her little brother in the old part of the village. Their mother died 2 years ago. The father is gone." Kwame nodded slowly. His wise eyes followed Amina as she worked. "She is strong," he said. "She works hard even after being humiliated. The ancestors favor hearts like hers." Kojo asked, "What will you do, Elder?" Kwame smiled softly. "The time will come, Kojo. We must wait and watch. Sometimes the river flows slowly, but it always reaches the sea." Later that afternoon, during her short break, Amina sat on a small wooden bench behind the house. She ate her dry bread and drank water from a plastic bottle. She closed her eyes for a moment and whispered a prayer. "Dear God, give me strength. Help Musa stay healthy. I can carry this burden." As she prayed, Elder Kwame watched from the distance. His heart grew heavy. He saw not just a poor girl, but a soul full of quiet courage. Inside the mansion, Madame Yara continued her party. She laughed and showed off her new gold necklace to her friends. "Look at this beauty," she said, her voice full of pride. "It cost more than what that cleaner earns in a whole year." The women laughed again, but the winds of fate were beginning to change. Madame Yara did not know that the person watching from the shadows had the power to shake her world. She believed she was untouchable, but the ancestors were watching too, and they never sleep. The sun slowly set behind the tall trees. The city became quiet as the sky turned orange and pink. Amina had finished her work for the day. Her body was tired and her hands were sore, but she was thankful that she made it through another long day. She walked home slowly. Her house was far, but she did not mind. Every step brought her closer to her little brother Musa. He was waiting at home, hungry and alone. When she finally arrived, Musa ran to her. "Sister," Musa called, wrapping his small arms around her waist. Amina smiled, though her eyes were tired. She knelt down and hugged him tightly. "Have you eaten, Musa?" she asked softly. "I waited for you," Musa replied. "I wanted us to eat together." Amina smiled again, though her heart ached. She went inside and placed the small bag of food on the table. There was only some rice and a few vegetables, but it was enough for tonight. They sat together and ate in silence. After dinner, Amina helped Musa with his studies. She wanted him to have a better life, a life away from poverty. As Musa fell asleep, Amina sat by the small window. She looked up at the stars and whispered a prayer. "God, I am trying. Please help us." Far away, Elder Kwame sat in his small home, thinking deeply. He held a cup of warm tea in his hands. His helper, Kojo, sat across from him. Kojo, Elder Kwame spoke. Do you see the strength in that girl? She works so hard, carries so much pain, but still remains kind. Kojo nodded. Yes, Elder. Many would give up, but she does not. Kwame smiled sadly. The ancestors have shown me a vision. A storm is coming for Madame Yara. The pride of the rich will fall, and the humble will rise. Kojo looked surprised. What should we do, Elder? Kwame replied. We must act. Tomorrow we visit the chief. The time has come. The next morning, Elder Kwame and Kojo went to see Chief Obasi, the leader of the city council. Chief Obasi was a fair man who respected the wisdom of the elders. Welcome, Elder Kwame, Chief Obasi said kindly. What brings you here today? Kwame bowed his head slightly. I come with heavy news, Chief. I have seen cruelty done by Madame Yara. She splashed mud on a poor girl named Amina and laughed at her pain. Chief Obasi frowned. This is not the first complaint I have heard about Madame Yara's behavior. Kwame continued. Amina is a hard-working girl. She cares for her young brother after losing her parents. She works at Madame Yara's house, yet she is treated without respect or kindness. Chief Obasi nodded slowly. I see. And what do you suggest we do, Elder? Kwame's eyes shined with wisdom. The ancestors demand justice. Madame Yara's father's lands are under council control. It is time to take back what is held by greed and give it to those who deserve peace. Chief Obasi thought for a moment. You are right, Elder Kwame. The council will meet. Madame Yara must answer for her actions. Later that day, the council sent a message to Madame Yara, calling her to a meeting. She was surprised and angry. She believed no one had the power to question her. Who dares to summon me? She shouted. Her assistant Flora spoke nervously. It is the chief, madam. Madame Yara laughed. Let them try. They are nothing, compared to my father's power. But what she didn't know was that her pride had already opened the door to her downfall. The ancestors had seen her cruelty. The council was ready, and justice was coming. The next morning, the big city hall was full. Elders, council members, and many people from the village and the city gathered. Everyone had heard about the meeting. They were curious. Why had Madame Yara been called by the council? Madame Yara arrived, in her black Range Rover. She stepped out wearing a beautiful red dress and shining gold jewelry. Her face was full of pride. She walked into the hall as if she owned it. Inside, Chief Obasi sat in the middle, with Elder Kwame beside him. The other council members sat in a circle. Amina was also there, sitting quietly in a corner, her head low. Chief Obasi spoke loudly so everyone could hear. Madame Yara, you have been called here to answer for your behavior. The council has received many reports of your cruelty. Madame Yara laughed loudly. Cruelty? I only teach people to respect the rich. They should not walk near my car. If they are poor, that is their problem. The people in the hall whispered. Some looked angry. Some looked sad. Elder Kwame stood up. His voice was calm but strong. Madame Yara, you humiliated a poor girl Amina who works hard to feed her young brother. You splashed her with mud and laughed. You forgot that power is not forever. The ancestors have seen your pride. Madam, Yara's smile faded for a moment, but she quickly answered, So what? She is just a cleaner. She should be grateful she even has work. Chief Obasi shook his head. No, Madame Yara. Every person deserves respect. Rich or poor, we are all children of the land. Your family's lands and businesses are under council lease. After hearing the wisdom of Elder Kwame and the voice of the people, we have made a decision. The hall became silent. Everyone waited. Chief Obasi spoke clearly. From today, your control over these lands is taken away. The properties will now be managed by the council to serve the people. Homes will be built for the poor. Jobs will be given to the needy. Amina will be the first to receive a new home and a fair job. She will no longer be a servant in your house. Gasps filled the hall. Amina looked up with wide eyes. She could not believe what she had heard. Madame Yara stood up, her face red with anger. You have no right. My father will stop this. Elder Kwame spoke again. Your father's power means nothing when the people stand together and when the ancestors have spoken. You have brought this upon yourself. The guards walked forward and escorted Madame Yara out of the hall. She screamed and shouted, but her power was gone. Amina sat quietly, tears running down her face. For the first time, they were tears of joy. Chief Obasi smiled at her. Come forward, Amina, he said kindly. Amina stood and walked slowly to the center. She was still shaking. Chief Obasi placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. You have shown great strength and patience, child. The council will give you a new house and a good job. Your brother will go to school and your life will change. The people in the hall cheered and clapped. Many had tears in their eyes. Elder Kwame smiled and whispered, The ancestors are pleased. Amina bowed her head and spoke softly. Thank you. I will serve with a good heart and help others as you have helped me. That day the people learned an important lesson. Pride and cruelty may live for a time, but kindness, patience, and justice will always rise. The land belongs to all, and the ancestors watch everything. As the sun set behind the hills, Amina and Musa stood outside their new home. They held hands and looked at the stars. For the first time, their hearts were full of hope.